All right, so I'm outside of a 2020, and this is the Honda CR-V EXL, and this is the hybrid model. So we're gonna walk around the outside, move to the interior, and then we'll go on a test drive here. I'll start you off with the wheels. It's got an 18-inch alloy wheel, so very much a flower pattern here. You can see the painted alloy. Right above that, you'll notice it is badged hybrid, so you're always gonna find badging on our hybrids on the sides and backs of the vehicle. Now, as we move around to the front, you'll see that it does have LED daytime and standard lights, and then it does have LED fog lights on this vehicle additionally too. So moving forward here, you've got a classic grille here. They actually do a little bit something different here. You can see the smoked finish with the chrome across the top and then outlined in blue right here to let you know it's a hybrid. Right behind this is where you're gonna find the radar to this vehicle. And then up above, I'll point out that you can see that there is a camera. You'll see a trapezoid piece cut out of the tent up there. So when we get to the Honda sensing stuff inside the car, I'll go over that. So the front fascia of the car right here, just so you can get a good view of it. All right, so moving around to the side of the vehicle, I will point out it has painted, of course, mirrors and door handles, and they are breakaway mirrors, so you don't have to worry about somebody dealing with that. And then it is a smart key entry system, so I can put my hand and it'll unlock for me, or I can lock it touching these three ridges right here on the door, so I don't have to get my key fob out of my pocket. So, moving around to the back of this vehicle, first off, I'll point out this one is an all-wheel drive model, but if you're in a two-wheel drive model, they're the exact same, so no worries there. It is badged hybrid on the back, and then the classic look to the back of the car is pretty standard compared to previous models, so you're not going to see much difference there. Now, moving to the back interior area. It does have a powered tailgate, so that's part of owning the EXL model. This is one of the features you're gonna get there, so just keep that in mind. You do have the powered tailgate right off here, or on the interior of the car, and of course you do have remote start, which you'll find in the model below it, and all the normal smart key fob related buttons. So moving into the back, you can see first right here, I've got my carpeted seats, or excuse me, carpeted floor mats, so below my seats. And then down below here, I've got a little bit different setup than what you'll see in my other vehicles. So because it is a hybrid, they go with the tire repair kit. So you'll see there's an air compressor there. There'll be a can of essentially fix a flat. So you're losing out on having a spare underneath, which I'm not a huge fan of, but that exists here. And then this funnel is related to your gas cap, so I'll explain that here in just a minute when we get over there. So in the back though, the rest of the interior is gonna look fairly familiar, so it looks similar if you're looking at other CRVs. I've got the privacy hider right here in case I need to hide my belongings. Of course, this will be tinted also, so you'll have two different ways there. And then if I need to throw it on my seats, I can throw them down right here, so they make it nice and easy for me. Just pull the handles, throw it down, and then of course this piece is removable. All you gotta do is squeeze the end and it'll pop out. So just to give you an idea for your spacing in this car, now you can see what's going on there. So you've got quite a good amount of storage space here, cubic space to work with. So I do like that about this vehicle. And it's still a nice flat surface. It's got a little bit of a slope to it, but not much. That way if you ended up camping and wanted to sleep in your car because it rained or whatever, you know, you can kind of get a feel for, hey, or if you're loading up something that needs a flat surface. While I'm here, I will point out that you do have air vents in the back of this car, so you can see them right there, just to make sure everybody gets a visible view of those. So let's keep moving around this car, and we'll go over a couple features here. So I'm gonna close the tailgate. As far as I'm talking about this, if you wanna set the height to your tailgate so it doesn't hit the top of your garage, if you adjust the tailgate, all you gotta do is get it to whatever height you prefer, or if you're just a shorter person, once you get it to the height you want, press and hold the button. When you hear the double beep, it's now set. So now I've set the height to my tailgate. So that's how you do it. And then to close it, just tap it, and it'll of course close. So that's going on there. All right, so moving around to the side of the car, related to that gas cap, let's see if we can get this popped open here, and we'll show you what's going on. So on the interior of the car, go ahead and pop the gas cap. So I'll show you where these are right now. You've got your hood release and your gas cap here. So I'll pop the gas cap and then I'll come around and I'll show you the hood before we hop inside the car. That way you can see what's under the hood and kind of what space you're working with. Okay, so you can see that it's capless, right? So it has a valve that pushes up against this. So where this comes into play is if you ran out of gas and you're trying to use something to fill it up with gas, you wouldn't be able to push that in, right? So that funnel's designed to hold this open to where you could pour if you had like gas in a can or gas in, you know, whatever you filled it up with, you know, a bottle, a Coke bottle, whatever you had available to you, right? So that's the purpose of that funnel you saw in the back. So just wanted to show you that while we're moving here. So let's go ahead and hop to the end, or excuse me, under the hood of the car. So I'm gonna pop that real quick and just show you what we got working there. So you can get a visualization of spacing, what's going on with this 2-liter engine. As I show you this, I will say that this engine, according to their website, has 212 horsepower, which is actually more than the standard CR-V, which comes with 190 horsepower. So you're looking at a 2-liter engine, but it is a hybrid setup, which surprisingly in most of my hybrids, you don't have this much space under the hood. So you've actually got a lot of working space if you wanted to add something, mount anything under the car, you know, whatever it may be, accessory-wise. So you've got an airbag, so you have easy access to your battery right here. As you move around, you can see all your tops that need to be popped open and related to fluids are easily accessible. So I like that you can reach these easily. You're not going to do a lot of work. Getting to dipsticks and where to drop oil in is pretty easy to do. So just want to show you under the hood before we hop inside the car. All right, so let's move to the interior of the car. All right, so related to the interior of the car, I want to start you on the back seat area first and just kind of show you. You've got some nice leather here, and the EXL model is perforated, and it's got a good stitching look to it, so it's actually a nice look. And then you do have, of course, the flip down with your cup holders in it, and then you have cup holders in all of your doors, so you'll notice that you've got them stored down here too. You'll notice you do have some wood paneling running along here, and then you do have speakers in the back, so some small tweeters, and then a larger speaker down below. So this is an 8-speaker system in this car with 180 watts, so it's part of what you get moving up to the EXL. So I'll just point out you do have the air vents, which I mentioned earlier, and then you do have 2 USBs, so the passengers in the back can charge while they're using their devices. All right, so moving around to the front of the car. All right, so the first thing I want to point out here is that you have a 10-way powered seat here, so I can adjust, back, front, up, down, and then I have my lower lumbar support. And then in the EXL model, you also have a 4-way powered seat over on your driver's side. So that's one of those additional features you're getting moving to this model. Now, over here on the door, I'll just point out some general features. Your window controls, auto up and down, window locks, door locks, and then your mirror controls. And then as part of the EXL, you do get the memory seating. So all I would have to do is crank up the car, press the set button, these will flash, and then select the one I want to set, right? So easy. Once I've got it set, press set, and I'm good to go. And that'll correlate with your keys. So on the back of your key, you'll see driver 1 or driver 2. So this would be driver 2. So I can set up everything for driver 2 in this car, not only related to the seating, but also the door locks and some of the other features, which I'll show you here momentarily. So let's go ahead and hop in this car and show you some features. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and push my foot on the brake and crank it up, and we'll go over some features. All right, so we've got the car turned on here, and I want to start you on the left side of the dash over here, and we're going to work your way across to show you some features. So first one I'll point out is right here. It's road departure mitigation. So this works with your, this one is going to work in the sense that if I start to drift off the shoulder of the road, it's going to give me an audible alert, and it'll actually vibrate the wheel to let me know, hey, you're driving off the shoulder of the road. So that's what this is, and you can see you can turn it on and off, and the green LED will let you know if it's on. Now, below that is collision mitigation braking. Now, this is part of the Honda sensing package also, so both of these are. And what this is if it's looking like I'm going to rear in another car, it'll give me an audible alert, then it'll start to flash in the dash, and then after that, it'll start to apply the brakes to help prevent me from rear-ending another car. This is always on and running unless you press and hold. And then you'll see that it turns off. It lets me know right there. But you can see that it took me a couple seconds. You can't accidentally bump this one and turn it off. You have to hold it for a couple seconds. So same with this one. These two are always on and running unless you turn them off. Now, this is vehicle stability assist. This works with your traction control. So in the event that you go into a skid, it'll transfer power to whichever wheel is getting better traction to help correct that skid. And then above it, part of the EXL model, you do get that powered tailgate, so you can pop open the tailgate from right here or off the key. All right, so moving up to the steering wheel. I'm gonna start you on the left side, and then we'll go to the right side. So right here, you got your volume controls, and then you've got your Bluetooth controls, so to answer a call, to hang up a call, and then use voice commands, so call so-and-so, this sort of thing. This will also work with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. So if I jump over to my touchscreen here, and I get this pulled up here, you'll see that I've got smartphone connection here. If I've connected my phone right down here to the USB, the one with the picture of the phone on it, what it will allow me to do is to access my music, my messages, my mapping systems on the touchscreen and do everything right here from the touchscreen. So really helpful tool to use. And so where this button comes into play for that is that I would be able to use press and hold till I hear the beep for Siri and ask Siri to do things. So Siri, call this person, send a text to this person, Siri, pull up directions to this, that sort of thing. The same thing for Google or Android-based users, I should say. So this I button right here is actually going to affect some screens that you see right here. So I really like this because it'll show you a whole lot of different things. So as far as miles per gallon, the way you're driving is going to save you gas mileage. As it stays in the green, it's letting you know you're doing great. And you'll also have this indicator up here. Whenever it's green, it means the way you're driving is going to save you for gas mileage. And as it fades to blue, it's letting you know it's going to affect your gas mileage in a negative way. Now, hit it one more time. We can move over to the power flow. So I really like the power flow because it's always going to show you which mode you're driving in. So whether it's the hybrid mode where it's connecting the two, the gasoline engine, and then the batteries down here, or if it's driving in just one of the modes, and you'll see the lines appear here as you're doing it. So it's just a really cool function, and I like being able to see it because it teaches you about how your car drives. So if you're new to a hybrid, this is going to be a really helpful function and tool to use for you. So just be aware of that. So that is the power flow. Now, moving across one more, this is going to be just general tripometer information. So I'm almost out of gas on this car, so it's got 100 miles left on this tank of gas, and you can get your current and previous trips. And then if I want to go one screen over, you can look at, several previous trips, so that way you can kind of compare how you're doing as far as, you know, MPGs. So they always give you quite a good amount of info related to that. Now, picture the coffee cup, attention monitor level. What this is if I'm using all these Honda sensing features, I could be using adaptive cruise control to keep me, you know, my gas and braking controlled. I could be using lane keep assist and my road departure mitigation to keep me centered in my lane. It means I'm not necessarily doing a lot in the car other than just kind of, you know, keeping my hands on the steering wheel and kind of focusing. What this is going to do is it's going to make sure you're still awake and alert. So after a point, if you're not, you know, using the car that much or you're not touching a lot, it's going to alert you just to be like, hey, just making sure you're still there, that kind of thing. So that's the attention monitor. And then one back over takes me back to the power flow, which we just saw right here. Or excuse me, this might be, actually this is going to be related to my tire pressure monitoring system, excuse me. And then one more will take you over to your oil life. So when you get down to 15%, it'll give you an audible alert, and then it'll give you an alert here and say A1, A2, or B1 or B2, and that's just going to let you know as far as you know, when you go into the dealership, what they're going to recommend to you, whether it be oil change and tire rotation or filters or anything related like that. So that's the function of this. And then one back takes me over to audio. So just whatever I'm listening to, I can jump between my favorite tracks. So to do so, all I'm doing is pressing over to jump between any favorites that I have saved, or if I press up and down, it'll allow me to source through different options. So whether it be FM, AM, Sirius XM, which you get for 90 days, Bluetooth, anything else that I would have hooked up, it would give me that option available too. So that's using the up and down arrows here. So, all right, as we move that, the last one is Bluetooth, and then switching between miles per hour and kilometers. What's really cool here that I like that they've done is they've set it up to where when you have your smartphone connected, if you have your mapping systems up and running, it'll give you those turn-by-turn directions right there. So super helpful feature, and that way you'll get them in two places. You don't have to look over the screen. You can just glance down, and it'll let you know, hey, in 1.6 miles, you have a turn to the left, or whatever it may be. So that is the I button, and then once you've pressed it, you can toggle left and right to switch between the screens. So I press it once, and then I can toggle through. So that is how I do it. Over here on the right side of the steering wheel, I've got two more of my Honda sensing controls. And then I also have a heated steering wheel, which is part of the EXL and above. So if you wanted a heating steering wheel, this would be the model you would want, or the Touring above it. So my main button here is going to be a key roll. So anytime I have my main button on, you're going to see ACC and LKS come on here. And that stands for Adaptive Cruise Control and Lane Keep Assist. So the cool thing about the main button is you can turn it on once and leave it on, and it'll always be on every time you get in the car. Now, what ACC and LKS stands for is Adaptive Cruise Control and Lane Keep Assist. Now, Lane Keep Assist is going to use just one button on here. So it's going to use this button right here. So if I turn that button on, you'll see some dotted lines appear here. Now, whenever I'm driving down the road, I have to be going over 45 miles an hour, but what it will do is it will lock on to the dotted lines on the road using a camera that is right up in here. So that'll pick up the lines on the road. When those fill in solid, it means it's now actively reading the road. So once it's done so, it just means if you drift a little bit to your left or your right, what it's going to do is it's going to correct and keep you centered in the car. Now, if you're getting over a lane and use your blinker, no big deal. It's not going to pull against you. If you aren't using your blinker, you're going to feel a slight nudge against you. It's nothing you can't overpower, so don't be worried like, hey, what happens if it's going to be an accident and I need to get over really quickly? You'd easily be able to do this. But it just feels like if you've ever been in an older car that pulls a little bit to the left or the right, that's what it feels like when it's keeping you centered. So it's a very soft pull. It's not anything that's jarring or anything like that. So that's Lane Keep Assist. The two caveats I'll tell you about Lane Keep Assist is, one, you got to be going over 45 to use it, and two, if your windshield wipers are on, it will disengage this feature because they want you to focus on the road. Now, the next one is going to be your adaptive cruise control. So there are two ways to use this. You can use a standard cruise control or adaptive. Now, when you turn on the car, it's always going to be set up to the adaptive. So I would get up to my speed and press set. Once I've done that, where it says ACC off right there, you would see your speed. And then from there, I can set the distance it'll keep between any car that I come up on as I'm driving down the road going my set speed. And I set that distance using this button right here. So the more I press it, the more boxes, the more space it'll keep. So you can see up there as it creates or removes boxes. So I have it set, and what this means is I've got it set with all the boxes, right? So I've got it up there. I'm going, let's say 70, and the guy gets in front of me going 55. What it's gonna do is it's gonna pick up that car using that same camera in and up here, and then down in the grill where I pointed out the Honda emblem, there's a radar behind it. So once it picks that up, it will slow my car down, keep whatever designated spacing that I picked using that button right there, which is this one. And then it will slow down. Once I get out from behind that car, it'll take me back up to my speed and I can get on moving down the road. So this is really cool if you're taking a long road trip. You can just set it, leave it, it'll adjust for you. So every time you get up behind a car, it'll keep spacing. When you get out from behind them, it'll move back up to your speed. So really cool, helpful feature that has adaptive cruise control. Now, if you want to switch over to just classic cruise control, you press and hold this button for a couple seconds. It'll say cruise mode selected. So now you're not using adaptive cruise control, you're using classic cruise. And if you press that same button again, Now you're back to adaptive cruise control, right? So easy to understand those buttons here. And then you saw heated steering wheel's got an LED to let you know if it's on. So easy to understand. Now you do have paddle shifters in this car. So you've got a positive here, and then over on the other side, you've got a minus. The minus is probably gonna come more into play because as you're driving around the car, if you want to come to a stop, you can downshift using this, and that'll actually allow you to help build up that regenerative charge to use for your EV, which would be purely electric. So you can see I have it set up right now, it's ready, and I would be able to use it in purely electric. Now purely electric, you have a button to turn that on, and it's right over here on the dash. And you'll see there's 3 buttons here, and I'll go over those here shortly. But what it allows you to do is just strictly move into a purely electric mode to where if you're in stop-and-go traffic, that's where this really gets good use. If you're on the highway and you try to engage, it's just going to flip back over to the gasoline engine because that's where it works best. So it is going to use some rules to help be the most fuel efficient for you. But when you're in that stop-and-go traffic, you can use this until you run out of it. And when it runs out of charge, it'll just flip back over to hybrid or electric mode, or hybrid or the gasoline mode, to whichever one it needs to. So it's just kind of a cool feature that it gives you a little bit more ability to push that gas mileage. So, if you're getting that 50 in the city, or 40 in the city and 35 on the highway, and maybe you want to try to increase that, these are ways to do it. So EV mode, you can really be active and use that to help improve that overall 38 miles per gallon that you get total, right? So, okay, so that's the positive and minus paddle shifters here. Now behind that, you're gonna see you have your auto on-off headlights, and then your fog light controls, whether they're off or on, you can see the hash marks. And then over on the other side, I've got my windshield wiper controls here, so I can pull down for the front, or to do the back, I just turn the knob right here, and then they're intermittent, so I can affect the speeds. Now, moving over to the touchscreen, let's look at a couple different features on here and go over them. So first I want to touch on is audio and kind of walk you through all your different options here. So if I go to the source button here, you'll see FM, AM, 90 days of satellite radio. I've got USBs that I can plug into. I have 2 different USBs that are right here. The one with the phone would be used for Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. The one on the right, I could use for charging. I could plug a thumb drive into if I wanted to listen to music off it, whatever it may be. So a couple different ways I can work this. Now, it is iPod compatible. Pretty much anything with an I will work with this car. You can via Bluetooth or through the USB. Bluetooth control, whatever you want to connect up to. Pandora compatible, so if you're doing it via Bluetooth, you'd be able to control it on the screen. If you're a Spotify user, no big deal. Just use Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and then you can use all of those. So Spotify, Pandora, iHeartMedia, any podcasting apps. There's a lot of different options you have there. Or you can go Bluetooth and listen to anything you want. You'll just have to adjust it on your phone. So that's kind of your audio options. Now, moving down here, your info. So this will allow you to access tripometer information right there, or if you just wanted a clock and wallpaper, which you can see behind here, I can do that. Now, they've got the classic analog clock here. I can switch in and change some of those settings if I want. You know what I mean? You can play with a lot of this, what format you want it in, 24-hour or 12, whether you're a military time person, clock adjustment if you need to adjust that. And then jumping over here, I can mess with the background that you see there. So they have some stored backgrounds. So let's flip it over to a digital just to show you, and then we'll change this to metallic and set. So once I've done that, hit OK, and then this will all back out of that and show you now I've got a completely different look here. So easy to access once you're there. So that's the info button, tripometer information, and a clock. Now Honda Link is set up to where you have some different options available to you. I'm gonna hit always enable. What that was saying right there is that if I get into an accident, the airbags deploy, Honda will call down to me. If I don't answer, they can call 911 for me. So anytime you connect to a phone, it's gonna prompt you to enable Honda Link. What's really cool about that is that if that's the case, they will have the year, make, model, VIN, and then of course the color of the car, and they can GPS locate you. So if they're sending EMS out to you, it's a lot easier to find you. So I encourage you to engage that feature. Now, additionally, Honda Link offers some features related to starting the car from your phone, and controlling door locks from the phone. So if you're interested in those, they're subscription based, and they're depending on the trim level, you'll have access. Just go to HondaLink.com and you can see that. So let me jump back out of that. Your phone, if you've never connected the phone to the car, it's easy to do. Just hit yes, I'd like to connect a phone. Make sure your Bluetooth is on, and it'll search for it. So add Bluetooth device. You can see that there are some previous phones been added to this one because it has been test driven. Now, if you were going to add a second, third, or fourth phone, it's not always going to bring up that menu if you already have one phone connected. So how do I add a second or third phone? You go to settings right here, and then from settings, you're going to want to go to Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, and then we want that device list right here, the second option. Once you selected that, you can add a Bluetooth device, turn on your Bluetooth, and it'll search for it. So that's how to add a third, fourth, or fifth, or even sixth, because you have 6 options there. Now, related to settings, I want to show you a couple different features here. Now, under vehicle, there's going to be some different features you can play with here. So this is going to be like door locks, lighting setups, walkway auto lock features. So that's what you're going to find under vehicle settings. The reason I like this is a lot of people don't go over the door and window setups. So auto door lock. So the way this car is set up, when you hit 10 miles an hour, it'll automatically lock the doors. So if you don't like that, or you want it to do it sooner, you can change it when you shift to park, or you can turn it completely off. and then when you're getting out of the car. So that's where auto door unlock comes into play. So the way the car is set up right now, when you unlock your driver's side door, it then unlocks the remaining doors of the car. So that's the function of this feature, and this is the default. And you have all these different options you can change it to. So when you shift to park, it unlocks them. When you turn the ignition off, or you can completely turn it off, being, hey, maybe you're the only person in the car and you don't ever want it to open those other doors. Now, so that's auto door lock and auto door unlock. At the very bottom of the screen, you'll see walkaway auto lock. And what that means is, if I turn this on, because the default is always off, so I'm going to turn this on. So now, if I get out of my car, I have my key with me. The minute I get 10 feet from the car, it will automatically lock the doors for me. So this is great for that person that gets halfway to the grocery store and goes, oh my God, my laptop's in the front seat. Did I lock the doors? Well, then maybe you're the person who wants to make sure this is turned on. So that's the walkaway auto lock feature. The rest of these, there's different things as far as the key in the remote unlock, the answer back when you hit it and it honks at you or beeps at you. It's just different features you can play with. But the big three for most people are the lock and unlock, and then the walkaway auto lock feature at the very bottom. So how I got to that, one more time just to show you, go to settings. Once you're under settings, you're gonna go to vehicle right here. And then under vehicle, you want door and window, which if you scroll down, you'll see it right here. So the rest of these you can play with. If you have questions about it, reach out, let me know. I'd be more than happy to help you find answers if you need help with that stuff. Now down below that is your AC controls. One of my few knocks on this car is the AC. So when you get in the car, this screen has to crank up, right? So you can turn the fan on and you can get the fan going real fast, but you can't affect whether the AC is actually turned on or if it's just the fan. So it's one feature I don't like about this car. You can use the remote start to get air blown and kind of circulate and cool the car off, but I really wish that you had an AC button right here like some of our other vehicles that allows you to turn that on so you're not waiting for this to boot up. So other than that though, you've got your fan speed, hot or cold, because it is a lateral control here. So like 68, 58, I can control left and right separate of each other. And then just the fan speed is going to be constant. And then of course down here is where you want the air to go, and then your defrost buttons are right here. Now this car does come with heated seats. My controls are right here on my left and right side. And then moving to the next 5 buttons are probably the most asked about buttons that people see, because not a lot of people go over them. The first one's your park and brake, pretty self-explanatory. Put your foot on the brake, pull up just like a handbrake to set it. And when you do so, you'll see brake pop up over here in the far corner. It's kind of hard to see for most people because it gets trapped behind the steering wheel. So I'm going to turn that back off. And then your brake hold. So use brake hold, you have to have your seatbelt on. So let me put my seatbelt on here just to explain it so I can show you how this feature engages. All right, so when the car is on, I can put the car in drive. Now the car's in drive. If I press the brake hold button, you're gonna see a couple things happen up here. You're gonna see brake hold, standby, and then it's gonna let me know down here in the far right corner, actually here, it'll say brake hold, and then it'll say hold. Hold means it's now holding the brake for me. So while I have the car in drive, I can release my foot from the brake. I don't have anything touching the brake, and I'm not moving. And then the minute I touch the gas, it'll release the brake, the hold button will come off here, and I'd be able to move forward. So this works really well for like stop and go traffic. So that way, if I'm moving 5 feet at a time, kind of, through a traffic light or whatever, or if I'm in a drive-through, this comes into play. But you have to have your seatbelt on. If you take your seatbelt off, it disengages this feature, but no worries. It won't let you roll in the car in front of you. If I take it off my seatbelt, it immediately throws the parking brake on, gives me an alert up here saying, hey, shift to park because you're still in drive. Shift to park, parking brake's on holding me. So it's not gonna let you accidentally do anything. So now I can turn the parking brake off again. So that's how brake hold works. It's for stop and go traffic. It's just a convenience feature. Now moving over to the other side, you've got 3 buttons here. They're all kind of essentially polar opposites of each other. So the sport mode, if I engage this button, it'll tell you sports engaged, and immediately you'll see a pop-up in the red up here, kind of letting you know, hey, sport mode is engaged. What it's immediately gonna start doing is revving at a higher RPM and giving you more get up and go. So there's gonna be more gas off the line kind of thing, but you're gonna give up gas mileage doing it. So be aware. Turn it on, turn it off, you can press it and hold it. You can turn this on and off whenever you want. Now the one below that is Econ. Econ button, whenever you turn that on, you're gonna see a green leaf pop up here, and it'll initially alert you down there. So this is gonna improve gas mileage, but it kind of works the opposite way. It's gonna limit some of the electrical systems in the front of the car, giving you better gas mileage, but you're gonna lose some of that acceleration off the pedal, and it'll affect the fan and the AC unit, so it won't blow quite as hard. So it limits some things to give you better gas mileage. So you could be using this, the EV button, a lot of different things to really improve gas mileage, building up charge, using your paddle shifters over here, realistically just your downshifting to help build that charge that you'll see. So EV button we talked about earlier, this will allow you to move into a strictly electronic driving mode. So it'll use all that, and then when it's on, you'll see EV pop up over here, and then when it runs out of charge, it'll just turn off. So that way you'll have a good indication of how it's working, right? So you can see EV ready, you can see EV over here, and then of course you can watch your charge diminish. When it drops down, it'll just flip back off on its own, and then you'll have to build a charge back up. So that's how the EV button works. All right, so related to the shifter, it's just standard buttons here, and it lights up whenever you're on one. Good indicator if you're in reverse is it'll immediately throw on your backup camera right here, which is nice. It's good, clear, crisp backup camera. I've got 3 views, 170-degree wide angle view, classic backup camera right here, and then one aim straight down so you can see the very edge of my back bumper. What I really like about this is where my hatch will open up to, and then parallel parking, I want that car to be on the other side of this line. And you'll see those same 2 lines right here on all 3 views. So where this comes into play is if I'm backing up to another car, a bush, a garage, a pole, whatever it may be. I like this because if it's raining outside, I can get my garage right here, open it up, knowing it'll come here, and I'll only have a small gap where I'm not getting rained on while I'm getting my groceries out. Now down here is cross traffic monitoring. You can tell that it's on with that LED, but if I hit it, it'll gray out. And then I can turn it back on. What this is it uses sensors off the corners of the bumper, and then whenever a car is coming from the left or the right, it'll give me an audible alert, and it'll show me arrows on the screen to let me know, hey, there's somebody coming from this direction. So this is great if you're trapped in between 2 big SUVs, 2 big trucks you can't see, and you're just kind of inching out hoping they'll see you. Cross traffic monitoring is going to help protect you from getting sideswiped in a parking lot. So cross traffic monitoring your backup camera. Neutral, drive, pretty easy to understand all these as far as how they function. You saw down below that I have 2 USBs that I can work out of, Apple CarPlay for this one, and then just regular charging here. And you'll notice 1.5, so this one will charge a little faster than that one will. I've got 2 cup holders here. Got a nice rubber mat finish in here that actually pulls out, so you've got a little tab here if you want to pull out and wash it off. In your center console here, it is sliding, so I can slide it forward. So if you're a littler person, you have to slide your seat way forward, you can still use it, or if you're a bigger person, you can slide it back. And then of course it does open. And they've switched this around a little bit over the last couple of years here. So I like that now this just works a little bit differently, how it flips out. It used to be completely removable and adjustable. Now it just kind of folds away on its own. So I like the way they've done this, and it allows you to completely cover this up so nobody can see what's in there in case you're hiding goodies. On the bottom you have another rubber finish here, and it's got a little tab so I can pull this out and wash it off. So you can see if I can get my finger under it here, I can pull it out and get underneath it if I need to. And then I've got a power outlet down in there too. So you can see I've got a 12 volt power outlet if I wanted to plug like another charger in. All right, so I've got an auto dimming mirror here, which is part of the EXL model. And then I, of course, have HomeLink set up for this, so I can set up garage clicker, gate clicker, all those things too. So this is part of the EXL model, The heated seats and the leather interior is part of the EXL model. The powered tailgate is part of the EXL model. So those are some of the things you're getting by jumping up this model. And then a 180-watt system with 8 speakers. Now up here, the rest of this is what I call normal new car stuff. Sunglass holder and a mirror if I want to keep an eye on the kiddos in the back. Lit vanities and that sort of thing here. So just so you have a general understanding of what's up here. And then I do have a moonroof in this model that comes in the EX and above. My controls are right here. Pull back to set it or press directly up on it to crack. So up next, we're going to take a test drive. And we'll go over a few different features here. I'm going to go over what you get going up a model, what you drop down and lose going down a model, whether I think this is a great car, how does it drive, the smoothness of the ride, the quietness, and then of course let's go over, hey, what is it competing in? What's out there that I might be looking at if I'm looking at this model too. So coming up next on the test drive. Hey guys, all right, so I'm inside of this 2020 Honda CR-V, and this is the hybrid model, and specifically it's the EXL model. So we just went over the exterior and the interior of the car. Now we're gonna take a drive and kind of talk you through some different things. So the first thing I'm coming up to here is I'm gonna take a stop sign here, and I'm gonna pull out, we're gonna gas it good and hard to find out, hey, what does this 212 horsepower feel like? In comparison to other cars that are out there on the market. So whether I'm looking at like a RAV4 that happens to be a hybrid, it's at that 219 mark. So let's gas it and go here and see what we got here. So quickly I come off the line. You can hear the CVT rev up, so that's what you can hear in the background, but I mean, I'm up to 50 and I'm up to 60 real quick and in a hurry. So in the world of hybrids, I like this car a lot. It's got go juice. So if you're looking at this, or if you're looking at maybe a Toyota hybrid, their hybrid also 219 mark, haven't driven that one, but I can tell you that a lot of the specs on both these cars are gonna be very closely related. So if you're comparing the two, it really might come down to getting behind the wheel, driving them, and just seeing what you think. What do you think of infotainment systems? What do you think of spacing in the back seat? What do you think of those cars together? But as we come around this curve, I'm gonna throw on some of those Honda sensing features. So I'm gonna get my lane keep assist set up, and then I'm gonna set my adaptive cruise control so we can test those out too. Now, as far as quietness in the cabin, I like this car. It's actually got a quiet cabin. The standard CR-V did, so I kind of expected the hybrid, starting a little bit higher price point, to be very similar, if not a little bit better. So as we come around this corner here, we're gonna get up to speed here, and we'll test out the lane keep assist functions once we get over into the correct lane. Now, as I move towards the highway, I will tell you, Road noise, nice and quiet in the cabin. You can hear me well. I'd easily be able to have a conversation or take a long trip. You could sleep in the car if you needed to. It's not gonna wake you up because things are so loud. And I could easily answer a phone via Bluetooth, which is usually the biggest concern of, hey, I don't wanna have to yell in my car when I'm talking on the phone. So right now you can see my hands are actually not on the steering wheel. I'm hovering over them now, and it's using the lane keep assist function to keep me centered in this lane so that I don't have to worry about drifting to the left or the right. So this function works quite well. It's existed in the car for quite a while and works really well. If it does lose track of the road, or if you drop below 45 like I just did, it'll give me an alert, say, hey, steering required, and ask you to grab the steering wheel. So I'm gonna move over here and hop on the highway, and we'll test out the adaptive cruise control. So let me get up to speed here. And that way we can set it to 70, and then we'll keep some distance between us and the car in front of me and kind of see how this functions for us. So immediately it picks up the car in front of me. I've designated my spacing. It's got me down to 58 here, and it's keeping my spacing until I can get either out from behind them or until they speed up additionally too. So adaptive cruise control is working just fine, and that's using that camera up top and that radar down in the grill, which is the same features it uses for my collision mitigation braking. So I'm not going to test that feature today, but that would be if it's something like I'm going to rear in another car. It'd give me that audible alert, the visual alert, and then apply the brakes to help prevent that accident. So fantastic features that this car offers when it comes to safety, and that's what gets it that 5-star crash rating. As far as airbags go, I didn't mention that earlier, but you've got 2 in the front, 2 on the side with sensors, so if I'm pushed up against it, it won't open and give me whiplash, and then 2 full curtain that have a rollover sensor. So I don't even have to get in an accident if I start to drive off the road and roll the car. It detects that and will open those airbags to help prevent anything from coming in or going out as related to gas, or glass, I should say. So fantastic features that this car offers as far as safety, and then topping that now with better gas mileage, 40 in the city, 35 on the highway. Now, comparing that to a RAV4, which is probably going to be the #1 compared car, because Toyota and Honda regularly compete. These 2 cars are very close when it comes to reading the specs. So theirs gets 41 in the city, ours gets 40 here at the CR-V. Related to on the highway, this one I believe says 35, theirs says 38. So you're not giving or losing a whole lot here. Their price point starts a little bit higher, so you're starting at I think 29 and change for a base, whereas I believe it's 28 on a CR-V. And then the CR-V is set up a little bit different. They do standard packages where there's a base, an EX, and EXL Touring, so very simple setups. I don't know if Toyota's doing it a little different where you can add packages and do things now, or if they just have 3 classic trims, or possibly 4. Now, related to the drive, I would have no issue putting someone in this car. I'm a huge supporter of the CR-V and the fact that they now have a hybrid. I really like it. Now, the one thing I would alert you to just say, hey, be aware of, is that you do have a hybrid battery. At some point, that will have to be replaced. Now, in my experience, Honda always gives you a 100,000 mile and I believe 8-year hybrid battery warranty. But when you get outside of that, know that if you ever had to replace it, it is a costly fix. And that's going to be any hybrid, whether it be Honda, whether it be Toyota, whether it be Subaru, anybody, right? So you're looking at, a few $1,000s. So last I checked, I believe it was about $3,000 replacing some of the other hybrids, whether it be the Accord, the Insight, some of those. So I'm going to assume probably a very similar price in the Honda if you ever get to that point. Now, loving this car for what it is, I think it would be a fantastic car to end up owning, driving for a while, and then handing down to maybe a kiddo who's heading off to college or anything like that, because I've got a backup camera. I've got sensors off the back of the car to pick up that. I've got all these Honda sensing features to help prevent accidents. I've got so much working to help keep whoever's in this car safe. And then on top of that, I've got great gas mileage, so if they are commuting back and forth from school, this would be a good car. And then it's just a good car for having storage in the back if you're loading up from a dorm, that sort of thing. So looking down the line of, hey, I own this car, and then it gets handed off to somebody, it's a great car for that reason. I think it fits a lot of groups. Now, if you're an older person looking at this car, I really like this car because laterally you're not climbing up into a car or down into a car. So this is one of those cars where, hey, I've got back, I've got hip, I've got knee issues. I need a car that's a little bit more lateral transition. Perfect car for that. I always was putting people into CR-Vs for that reason, because they didn't want to climb down into a car or climb up into a truck. So for that reason, if you're looking at a CR-V, I really like this car for my older crowd that's thinking, hey, I need something that's a little easier to get into, and maybe I do need a little bit of extra storage, and maybe occasionally I have the grandkids or whoever in the back, or maybe it's just the dogs, whatever it may be. Related to that, this car does come with leather standard. So the features you're getting by climbing up into the EXL, you're gaining leather interior and the heated seats. You do get heated in the EX, but you're gonna have the leather interior, leather shifter, leather sides here, and the leather steering wheel, which is actually a really nice feel. You are gonna have a powered tailgate in this car. You're gonna have memory seating over on the side, so I can set up memory for me and my other driver. And then I do have a powered seat on the other side here for my passenger seat. Now on top of that, you have a 180-watt speaker system that's 8 speakers. Whereas if you drop down, I believe you're dropping down to a 6-speaker system. So those are kind of what you're gaining by climbing up into this EXL model. So those have to be the deciding feature of, hey, are these features worth it to pay an extra couple $1,000s? If they are, fantastic, then you're on the right car. Now, if you're thinking, maybe I don't need these if I drop down, you know, what am I looking at? I'm looking at a cloth interior. I still have the same infotainment system with access to Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, pulling up my navigation, all those things. I still have the heated seats. I'm just really getting up things like leather interior, which may or may not be important to you, that power tailgate and that memory seating. In my experience, most of the times the power tailgate and the leather interior is kind of that deciding factor for a lot of people on whether they want to climb up into an EXL, because maybe you need leather for your kids, maybe you need leather because you have long-haired dogs, whatever it may be, and you're trying to protect your interior. Now, could you add leather to an EX model? Absolutely you could, but at that point, I'd say the cost you're gonna spend, you might as well climb up into that EXL and just be in the car. Now, comparing this to that Toyota RAV4, you know, all I can really tell you is that they're very similar in specs. So on paper, these two cars are gonna look very close. At that point, then it comes down to a lot of things like, do you like the exterior look of this one or that one? I like the interior to the CR-V better just because I don't have a shifter in the way. I've got a lot more open space moving laterally across, and it just feels more open. And I do like Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and I'm a big fan of how the infotainment system is set up through Honda. I've liked it for the last couple of years, and I think it's very easy to work through for most people. Whereas I've read a lot about Toyota saying, not the easiest and a little clunky feeling. So that one's gonna be completely on you on what you prefer. Maybe if you've owned several Toyotas and you're looking at it again, maybe it's not a big transition, but you know, you decide. So infotainment system, something to keep in mind, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. The rear seat room is gonna be a little bit larger in your CR-V, so if you are gonna have constant passengers back there, maybe it's something to consider. Maybe you've got that 6'4" kid who just keeps growing like a weed and you don't know why. Maybe that plays a role. But outside of that, I would tell you the gas mileage is very similar. The cost going to be very similar. CR-V is a little bit cheaper, but you know, you can decide there. And then it's going to come down to the small things. So infotainment systems and just how you like where things are placed, ergonomics and things of that nature. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Give me a call or text. I'm going to put my phone number on the screen somewhere around here, but it's 737-443-9555. Or you can email me. My personal email is jf_1064, also here on the screen. And then I have a couple favors to ask. One, please subscribe to my channel. Please like the video. And the last one is comment. Let me know what you think. Maybe you like it, maybe you hate it, maybe you wish I'd shown something additional, or the next time you want to see something, or is there one portion of this car you wish I would have went over differently? Let me know. I'd be more than happy to help you out. Maybe I can shoot a custom video to help you. Other than that, just want to say thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon, guys. Bye.